That was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Be
forward.
like a horse with blinkers on.
Honestly say, I was about to have
Corrupt
sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
I'm Dealinda Dalcomi. Everyone calls me Dee. I'm 40 years old, married, 2 kids.
My name is Glenn Aronser, and I would describe myself as educator, activist, artist, and 47 years old.
Hi, I'm Tori Jenkins. I'm the founder of the independent theatre movement of South Africa.
Hi, I'm Hazel. I'm a journalist at a community newspaper. I'm 34 years old, married, 2 daughters, and born and bred in Bonteheuwel, which is still my hometown.
In colour communities, we have serious alcohol problems. But it's not just a colour thing, it's a minority issue. If you go to Brazil, if you go to a whole range of areas where ethnic minorities, in a sense, are struggling in terms of autonomy and in terms of finding themselves, historically, substance abuse it's a systemic.
That's a critical point.
Correlation.
Because I don't think we're unique as people with a heritage to a First Nation identity. We're not unique. It's happening across the world. You know, where if it's not alcohol, it's one or other substance that people use to escape their sense
From
of
the reality.
lack of meaning making.
And
you know?
I agree with that.
And
it just so happens that because of apartheid, we have the haves and the have-nots. And the have-nots are finding it difficult to deal with real modern life and reality. And they're not educated, they don't have jobs. So what do you expect them to do? I can understand why it's happening.
I think the class factor is a critical one, and we haven't touched on it implicitly. I mean, it's there, and I think that's a critical thing to contribute, because then we are forced to deal with racism on another level because of poor, struggling people of all persuasions. You know, and then we need to understand our new oppression differently.
And historically, the colored community was, we know the influence of the previous government in feeding drugs into the colored community to keep it disparate. And so it's a legacy that is inherited in terms of drug substance abuse. And there's something about Tik, which there is something about Tik as well, because when you're hitting a community that is suffering not just an inferiority complex and a victim mentality, a drug that enhances, even for a moment, a sense of autonomy and confidence
And virility.
is hitting in securely into a very vulnerable spot, which is just eager to try and tap into that. And I think this is one of the reasons why which can explain the kind of pandemic that we're dealing with.
I was always wondering, Mandrax has been on the Cape Flats forever, but not everybody experimented with Mandrax, So it's been there, you've heard of this one or that one or that one. It's been
the record for the most.
But in terms of Tik, that thing just, with Mandrax, you would know of somebody maybe, but not necessarily a relative who's using it. This Tik thing is a whole new dimension of it, because nobody can claim, even in your own families, that there is at least someone in your own family that's experimenting with this nonsense. And that to me is scary. How did it just escalate? How did it just boom so in such a short space of time? In our communities, that is just
Socio-economic circumstances.
It's a cheap drug, yes.
It's a cheap drug. There are too many people who are unemployed. Do you know how difficult it is to live on the Cape Flats without a job, without income? There's families with a whole lot of children and people and whatever. Most of us come from that sort of background, lots of kids, whatever, living on the Cape Flats. Do you know how difficult it is for them?
I mean, even homeless people.
Yes.
I, at some stage, did a bit of research around substance abuse of homeless people. And you find stuff like, I sniff, so it's mostly inhalants that they use. So it was sniffing glue or sniffing petrol because it's cold in the evening under the bridge, right? And it makes me fall asleep. So, there are a multitude of reasons why people resort to psychoactive substances. And to judge at the outset is also problematic.
Yes, it is.
Although we
What-
wouldn't want that to hold it out as an option.
What do we use as a crutch? I mean, we're not exactly really poor people, right? We're okay.
Well, it depends on what.
Some of us, remember we
What
were
I'm
talking
saying
about
is-
class divisions.
No, but okay, maybe that was the wrong thing to say. But what I'm saying is, some of us smoke, some of us drink, some of us, I don't know, whatever we do as an escapism. For them on the Cape Flats and those people who can't afford to do maybe the things that we or other people can do, that is what they do. They use Tik or they sniff glue or whatever the case may be.
Well, look, we must also understand that within the Cape Flats we have a very strong gang culture. A particular culture which has an amazing network, one of the most powerful networks that one can imagine, and combined with with the socio-psychological issues that we're dealing with a network that is incredibly well structured, also contributes to the availability of this drug. And the thing is that Tik it's when you talk about reconciliation and rehabilitation, it's a drug that doesn't understand any of the two. Because it enters into, it triggers a part of the brain that shuts out anything to do with consciousness.
You can tell people the
And
dangers
when
of
we're dealing with the issue of finding consciousness on a very subconscious level, even on a practical level, to chop out that part of the brain that has to take responsibility is probably the most, I think, inviting and inducing factor in and around these things.
I think a lot of things predisposes people to fall for the soft option.
What is the soft option?
To resort to drugs, for instance, without dealing with the pain. I mean, we're talking about pain, and somebody was bold enough to say that all of us, irrespective whether you're a victim or a perpetrator, whether you're white or black, we are all suffering, because we should make no bones about it. And the healing process itself has not been articulated as much as we've not been articulating the alternative to racism, right? Racism divides, the alternative unites. We don't have a unifying project as such undergoing currently, So I think that in itself creates that bedrock where if a Tik straw falls there, it's going to grow, We're very vulnerable. And then as well, with the Mandrax during the apartheid period, and we know this through the TRC, it was tantamount to chemical warfare, right? If I need to fight you in the street, I'll rather up the dosage in your tablet so that you tranquilize and I don't need to fight you. You're going to sleep at home, man. You're not going to be on the street. I've got an issue, for instance, with what's this guy's name? I've got an issue because a lot of stuff is introduced into the public domain and we laugh, ha ha ha, and we're not realizing what the hell. That is actually a spanner in the works of what goes down. For instance, what's this guy's? I almost said the name of the cell company now.
No,
that
don't say
comedian,
it.
what's his name?
Trevor Noah.
Trevor Noah. Okay,
No, it's okay to mention him.
I happened to see.
Have you seen his shows?
I've seen The Daywalker.
Yeah, me too.
Now I've got an issue with The Daywalker.
Okay, tell me
right?
why.
The issue I've got with The Daywalker is him drawing the audience in through self-disclosure. I'm a colored. My dad was a Swiss, and my mother's whatever.
Black.
Right? Yeah.
So he's a true colored, eh? The first degree.
Well, he
Black,
doesn't see himself as a colored, right? But the point being, he speaks about how he wants to be owned as a colored when he comes to Cape Town, for instance,
I
right?
saw
That's part
that.
of it. But the problem that I've got with the way that he frames it is he goes onto this whole tirade about how violent colored people are. And if you want a measure of a people's violence, you must look at the violence of their women, right? So it's a good laugh, but I'm not impressed.
I didn't laugh at that part. Let me tell you
That's
something.
what I'm
this is
saying,
the interesting part. I love Trevor Noah's show, hey? But when it came to the thing he said about colored people, I didn't actually quite laugh. I sort of tongue-in-cheek just sort of thought, okay.
It wasn't funny.
But it wasn't funny for me either. However, I look at Mark Lottering and I laugh at his things. Now, what's the difference?
Maybe it's because Mark grew up in the, I don't know. I don't have his.
colored community.
Yeah.
It's a different vantage point.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
like coming in like, I'm
Exactly.
like this and I can say these things.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
agree
humorous.
with you.
It's
I really enjoyed watching Trevor Noah, but the stuff he said and the stuff he exhibited about colored people was for me quite like derogatory. And I thought, okay, apart from that, everything else was cool. But I didn't like that part.
He was an outsider, and Marcus does not present himself as an outsider.
That's the
But does that
difference.
mean that when other coloured people say things that might be derogatory, we don't mind?
But
But
that's
when
like that
black
across
and
the
white
world, isn't
people say it, or Indian people, then we do mind.
I think that, firstly, the whole notion of colours being able to laugh at ourselves. This is a serious indictment of what has been the recent, and you can say the last 20 years sort of nature of artistic contribution by coloureds in theatre. If a coloured person is gonna set foot in any series, or if it's a comedy series, for example, or in theatre, the economic formula that works is one where the coloured person is crass, is vulgar, making jokes about himself, and every time he says the word, any piece of vulgarity that we hear normally, then we are just rolling on the aisles. Now, what this does is that not only does it incriminate a perspective of ourselves, but it consolidates what is a commercially viable construct, stereotype that works. And so, I mean, I'm sick and tired of watching colored people make fools of themselves on stage.
Okay.
Because
but you know what?
because
Mark
because
doesn't make a fool of himself. He's actually brilliant as a comedian and as a satirist.
I'm talking about Mark. Why are, and I'm not going to go into any specific names in a sense, but there's a range of comedians. There's a range of particular artists and stuff like that within the color community that are wealthy and that make money. Sure. But, you know, just if I can string an F word or a P word in the space of 2 minutes and have a whole colored auditorium,
Everybody would be rolling.
you know, rolling on the aisles,
Remember we're a harbour city?
you know,
I love
Vloek,
that, eh?
man, ons vloek.
Fish and chips.
Ek het opgegroei met vloek. Ek vloek nou nog. And I don't ask for verskonings for it.
I mean, and I think
Not
the
gratuitous,
point.
but to make for impact, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
And Gal,
the
don't
point.
you just actually love who we are? We're so diverse.
The point that I'm trying to make is that I think we are a very musical. There's music,
And we've got rhythm,
like in every culture, we have music and we have rhythm, like in every culture. And
husband doesn't have that.
I think that how as problematic as the colored identity construct is, how it's being perceived on film and on TV is not doing us any favor.
But that is a bigger picture.
In terms of the roles that are being
In
played.
terms of the roles that are being
Yes.
played.
I know what you're saying, okay?
There's no favours
but
being
it's
done.
not problematic for me to be a colored. Is it problematic for you guys?
I have a problem when I'm being defined in a single dimension. I have an issue when I'm defined in a particular dimension, which is a dimension which I'm a part of, but it's not.
the world who you really are, and fuck that.
But that is what we are doing. Remember that, I think we are saying that's what we are doing. We
The
can't.
beauty of being this mixed race is exactly that. It's that we cannot be defined, although people are trying. We cannot be
who you are.
Yeah, it's like I always tell my friends, I'm 7 in 1 because if I try to get to my roots, it's
Just be you are.
Listen,
Just
my-
get over it.
my-
Be who you
have
are.
guys, have any of
We
you
all know
guys?
who we are. Just like sit down for a moment, think deep, and like
You know,
I think there's this
Can I
obviously.
just ask this?
You know,
Have any of you have as friends black and white people? Of course. My best friend is Afrikaans, woman.
okay, now there was a book written on that title. My best friend is a black friend. Now
So what?
already, if
was like
we're
a
gonna start,
trophy.
if you're gonna start entering into that kind of codification,
Okay.
in the sense that, well, I'm a good human being based on the fact that I have a black friend, I have a white friend,
I've got a pony,
I've got a pony,
I don't
and all
think
these-
like
4x4.
that.
I don't give a stuff if you only hang around white people, or you only hang around colored people, only hang around black
I
people.
don't consciously
It's-
choose my friends. I just go with whatever. And I happen to have a white Afrikaans woman who's my best friend. I'm actually married to a white man, but he's not from South Africa. He's from England. Who gives a shit? And you know what? He's also racist in a lot of ways. My dream is to have people understand exactly who they are and to be able to get on with others and engage with others, being true to themselves. Because I think when we do that, we won't be so focused on race issues and things that actually causes discord.
My dream is that we would be able to see our way through human limitations to live together and agree to disagree and to make meaning within the limitations to take us forward.
My dream is to see people dream.
I've got 2 daughters. Setha is 4 and Zachary is a year old. And I think my dream would be by the time that they are adults, that we wouldn't have to sit around the table and debate these issues we are debating tonight. That is my dream.
That's brilliant. I love that you said that. I wish I'd said that.